Yo, what's good YouTube? It's Boardsy, and in this video we're going to be doing an unboxing slash initial impressions of the Steelseries Aerox 3. I guess it has been unboxed already. This is just an initial impressions. I've been using the mouse for a bit over a day now. Also, I hope you guys are enjoying this B-roll I have decided to implement. So this is a $100 mouse, and it's wireless, and it's 66 grams. It's in a weird range where it's not affordable, because wireless mice have been like so historically expensive, but it's also not like a budget option either. It's a pretty weird price range, and I don't really know how you're gonna decide if this is worth your money or not. The quality of it, it's all right. I wouldn't say it's like the best I've ever tried. It's certainly, it's not flimsy, but it is not like an XM1 or like a fucking Logitech mouse out of the box. No rattle, but there is a fair bit of creaking on it, which is just truly unfortunate. I doubt it really means anything, and the mouse, like the build feels fine in hand. There is a small problem with the click quality though. You can see that if I there's just like a ton of play on the clicks, and I don't click up here, so it's really not too big of an issue, but it is only on my left click and not my right click, so I just really feel like the clicks are going to become like shit over time. I'm good at sniffing problems like that out, and I don't know, it just seems like this left click is going to go to shit over time. Speaking of the clicks, I think they use like some ADM mechanical SteelSeries micro switch. I could be wrong. I feel like they manufactured this. They're pretty. Oh fuck. They're pretty like snappy and responsive, similar to a like TTC Golds almost. They're like a step above Omron 20Ms, and I'm definitely happy with them. These are better than standard switches, especially on wireless mice like the G Pro wireless. It had the Omron 50Ms that double clicked. The Viper Ultimate, it used to have the horrible optical switches. These are good. And I would be perfectly fine with these on a wired mouse, even. Obviously, since it is wireless, there is no wire. That's a huge problem for a ton of companies. Like, they just can't make the cable good on their mouse. So SteelSeries decided to just stop using a cable, and it's fucking solid. It feels very nice. The like extra range of motion. I mean, I don't really notice it too much because I usually use mice with paracords anyway. But wireless, it's always nice, and no problems there. Now I'm going to talk about the feet, and this is something that a ton of people are having problems with. And I'll tell you why. Like for me, the feet have been perfectly fine. I play like a fingertip grip on this mouse, and just swiping the mouse around, I'm going to give a sound test of the feet. And now I'm going to put like some pressure on my mouse. So you see, like, the more pressure you put on the mouse, the feet are going to become incredibly scratchy and also loud. Like, really loud. Like, I can hear it through my headset loud. And I think it's just because they are so thin. That you just basically wind up scraping the bottom of the mouse against the mouse pad, and that's what causes it. But that's definitely going to be a huge problem for some people, so make sure to consider that. Obviously, core pads, they're probably going to release aftermarket feet for this mouse, or maybe you could even try Lexips. But the feet right now, they're definitely too thin. They work for me, but just yikes, I would not put these feet on a mouse. The sensor position, you might notice that's very low. Some people are freaking out about this. I just don't notice how it matters, honestly. And yeah, I really don't understand what the problem is supposed to be. People are just like, oh, sensor position's low. But yeah, like, so what? Honestly, the sensors felt perfectly fine. It feels on par with how wired mice feel. I'm still using it at 1,000 hertz polling rate. Also, like, I'll talk about the battery for as little as I can. I didn't plug it in last night. It's still on. That's more than you can ask for in a mouse. Gets the seal of approval. The scroll wheel, it barely protrudes out of the mouse. And I'm talking about like barely. and it's like fine, like if you can get to it, but I don't know, it's in a weird position, and I don't know, it's just basically like on level with the rest of the mouse, way less so than a ton of other scroll wheels I'm used to. It's just odd. It doesn't really affect me. I don't use it in game, but like it is a scroll wheel, and I wish it was a bit more accessible. These side buttons are terrible. They are so thin. They're basically inside the mouse. No, bad. Totally redo these. They fucking suck. They are hopeless. But the switches are good, like I said. And now the real final things I have to talk about are the shape and weight. I'm going to refrain from going too into depth about the shape because I have only had this mouse for like a bit over 24 hours. I don't really know everything there is to know. However, what I did notice is that it does have these like very sharp flares, and it made me have to change up my thumb position, or else I was just like sort of on the border, and it was very irritating. I was not a fan of it, but I have found a grip that is comfortable for me, like a human being. I adapted to the mouse shape that I was uncomfortable with and made it into one that I was comfortable with. It's a bit too small for me to claw, I guess. It doesn't have like a high enough hump. Uh, but for most people, this is going to be a very safe shape. And SteelSeries just tried to make an all-arounder mouse at $100, 66 grams. It is very light. It's pretty nice. It feels light while you're swiping it around. And having no wire, it feels nice. I'll admit it. Uh, but yeah, this is a solid mouse, and stay tuned for the full review dropping in a few days. But my initial impressions are fairly positive, and I just don't have a lot of problems that others are having with this mouse. $100 is still pretty steep, though, so stay tuned for the full review. Peace.